the forgotten palace of her childhood dreams. The Whispering Garden. Once upon a tender summer noon, when silence wrapped the world in golden haze, there lived a little girl with restless eyes, who carried secret kingdoms in her gaze. Her house was small, its walls were frail, the roof was patched, the paint was gone, but just beyond the dusty lane, a secret place was waiting on. It stood abandoned, hushed and torn, a broken house with shattered beams, its windows dark, its courtyards dry, a hauling shell of someone's dream. Yet, to the child, it was not decay, it was a doorway wide and kind. For when she tiptoed past its gate, a wondrous world would bloom in mind. At noon, when all the grown-ups slept and silence ruled the heavy air, she crept with barefoot, careful steps toward that house, so still, so bare. She would press her palms against the wood, the heavy, weathered, broken door, and as it groaned beneath her touch, the word she knew was there no more. The ruins melted into light, the dust became a marble flow, the cracks turned into flowing vines, the courtyard bloomed, alive, aglow. There lay a palace, vast and wide, a marble floor with silver veins, 5 wide stairways, curved like dreams, that led to halls where magic reigned. The garden sang with colors wild, each flower breathed a gentle song, and fairies, dressed in crystal hues, would take her little hands long. They twirled, they danced, they laughed so free, their voices soft as tinkling stream. They crowned her head with woven blooms and made her queen of all her dreams. The air was laced with honeyed winds, the fountains whispered silver spray, and every corner shone with light that never, ever went away. The girl would run through shining halls, her laughter ringing, sweet and clear. Her footsteps echoed, not on stone, but on the fabric of her cheer. This was her kingdom, secret, true, a world that none could steal or see, a hidden palace built of heart, where she was always meant to be. But when the evening shadows fell and voices stirred, the spell would break. The palace dimmed, the fairies flew, the flowers slept, the walls would ache. The marble floor returned to dust, the stairways bent, the halls grew cold, the garden shrank to weeds and stone. The fairy tale had once more closed. She would slip back home with quiet eyes, her secret safe, her spirit warm. For in her heart she knew the truth, that she had touched a brighter form. The stairways called to her with light, 5 silver veins of gleaming stone. Each step she took became a song, each breath a spell she thought she owned. The fairies twirled around her feet, their wings like mirrors catching flame. They whispered secret of the skies and called her by her royal name, little queen of hidden land, The palace blooms at your command. Walk with us through halls of glass where golden hours never pass. And so she did, her hands outstretched, her pulse a drum of fierce delight. The world she knew was gone, dissolved. She lived in magic, pure and bright. The living room was vast and high, but not the kind her parents knew. Its ceiling arched like heaven's wide, painted and shifting sapphire hue. Pillars rose like frozen flames, their veins alive with molten glow. And in between, the air was thick with music only she could know. The fairies led her through the halls, their laughter echoing off the stone. They placed her gently on a throne, carved not of gold, but dreams alone. This is yours forevermore. They chimed as bells of crystals rang. Rule with kindness, hold it dear. Her worlds collapse when hearts turn blind. She laughed, she clapped, she twirled her dress, though wrapped, bashed in real world sight. They played their games in endless field, garden stitched from stars and rain. She chased their wings, they tugged her hair. She fell, but never felt the pain. Every petal sang her name, every fountain bore in streams. Every corner of that place was built from something more than dreams. And yet, sometimes the shadows stirred, a whisper in the marble veins, a voice too low for her to catch, a trembling note beneath the strains. The fairies hushed, their wings fell still, their faces dimmed to muted glow. Not yet, not yet, they would softly hum. You are too young still, you cannot know. But she, too wild to fear or stop, would laugh again and chase the air. And in the blink, the shadows hushed, the palace shone without despair. Hours passed in stolen streams, till dusk would stretch its weary hand, and every fairy kissed her cheek and led her gently back to land. Tomorrow come, they would beg her softly. The gates will open just for you, but go before the humans wake, or else the spell will not renew. And with a sigh, the marble cracked, the flowers wilted, fountains dried, the stairways bent, the fairies blurred, and everything she loved had died. She would step back out with dusty hands. The broken house returned again, but deep within her beating chest, the fairy word still pulsed, still reigned. Dusk and the vanishing kingdom. It always come too soon. The trembling hours when the air turned soft, when the sunlight bent, and shadows climbed the walls like silent thieves. At first, she thought the kingdom eternal, a palace, does not vanish, does it? Fairies do not fade like smoke, and marble cannot simply turn to dust. But the world of children learns in layers. One evening, as the golden light dimmed, she felt the tremor of the walls, like a sigh held too long. The stairways paused at once, then grew brittle beneath her toes. The fairies all the hours before danced wild in crowns of fire, now hovered close with sorrow in their eyes. They touched her face, her hands, and spoke as if their voices were wrapped in glass, about to shatter. Go now, little queen, the gates are closing. Go before you are trapped between worlds. She clung to them, her tiny fists, grabbing at air, at wings, at nothing solid. But this is my home, she cried. Don't make me leave. Don't take it away. The garden wilted in her tears. Blossom curled into ash. The fountains ran dry, as if they would never known water. Every petal she once loved turned brown in her grasp. The marble cracked, the pillars bent like reeds. The throne dissolved beneath her weight, and before she could scream, before she could fall, she was standing once again in a ruin that stank of dust and age. A torn ceiling, cobwebbed corners, shards of glass that cut the evening light. She passed her hand against the wall, as if pressing would call the kingdom back, but all she felt was rough stone, and all she heard was her own breath, shaking, lonely, small. That night in her narrow bed, she stared at the ceiling and wept. She had discovered what no child ever wished to learn, that paradise can vanish, that magic is not endless, that dusk takes what day gives. And yet she rose the next noon, braver, more desperate than before. And when she entered the ruin again, the palace returned, alive, forgiving, as if the previous evening's sorrow had been only a bad dream. So began her rhythm. Every day she lived 2 lives. So began her rhythm. Every day she lived 2 lives. The world of dust, where no one saw her, and the world of marble, where she was queen of all things bright. But always that ache returned with the sunset, to collapse the vanishing kingdom. It was the price of magic, the price she alone was willing to pay. The city woman, the ears unspooled like ribbons, and the little barefoot girl became a woman. Her hand once soft with clay, her laughter once wild as sparrows, had thinned into quiet sigh. The city wrapped her in its iron arms. Streets thundered with car horns, windows glared with restless light, and people hurried past her like waves that never stopped to breathe. She learned to walk quickly, to keep her head high, to speak when spoken to, but to smile in her heart. But the palace never left her. Whenever the world pressed too heavily, whenever words cut or loneliness crawled through the hollow of her chest, she closed her eyes, and there it was, not in ruins, not broken but whole, the marble floor beneath her feet, the 5 stairways curling upward, calling her name, the fairies with their sapphire wings waiting just beyond the threshold. She could almost hear their voices. Welcome home, little queen. We have missed you. And for a moment, she was not sitting in a crowded bus, not standing in a grey office, not staring out the window of her lonely apartment. She was running through the gardens again. She was laughing. She was free. No one knew her secret. Her colleagues never guessed that the quiet woman at the desk beside them carried a kingdom behind her eyes. Her neighbors never imagined that while they argued over bills and fences, she was being crowded and crowned with blossoms of starlight. Her friends never saw that when she bent and went silent at parties, she was climbing the marble stairways that only she could see. It was her escape, her salvation, her second heartbeat, and yet she also knew the truth. The real house, that old ruin from childhood, had long since collapsed. Walls crumbled, vines devoured its frame, and the earth itself seemed eager to erase it. If she visited today, she would find only dust and broken brick. The palace had been buried by time's merciless hand, and still she carried it like a jewel, hidden deep, wrapped tight within memory, because some places never die, not when they have been lived in with such love, not when they are built from the marrow of imagination. And so she went on, balancing the sharp word with the soft one inside her. Her life, though filled with noise, was softened by the secret music of that hidden hand and that hidden land. The prayers for heaven. Nights grew longer as she grew older. The city lights that once glittered now burned into her weary eyes. The world was full of voices, endless, heavy, demanding, and still there was silence waiting. She would lie awake, hands folded near her face, eyes wet, and whisper words too soft for even the night to catch. "Oh Lord," she prayed, "you who made skies and seas, you who planted dreams inside our hearts, hear me. Oh Lord, you who made skies and seas, you who planted dreams inside our hearts, hear me. I ask, not for riches, not for gold, nor for palaces that men can build. I ask for one thing only, one and only, that when I leave this life, you give me the palace I once held." Her voice trembled, but her heart was fierce. "Let me climb those 5 stairways again. Let the marble flow beneath my feet. For the world has teeth, and I am tired of being eaten." But that palace was love. That palace was peace. If heaven's is mercy, then let my heaven be that place. Her tears traced rivers down her cheeks. The room around her was dark, a box of shadows, but within her chest, the marble palace shone. She could almost hear the flutter of wings, the murmur of fountains, the music that had been hers alone, and she smiled, for she knew the kingdom lived as long as she remembered it. No dust, no ruin, no broken wall could erase it. "Promise me," she whispered once more, "that when I wake beyond this world, I will open my eyes, not to streets or sorrows, but to my palace, my garden, my throne." And with that prayer, she finally slept, wrapped not in blankets, but in blossom of memory. And so the story rests of a girl who once tiptoed into ruins and found a kingdom waiting. The world aged, her body aged, But her secrets never grew old. For every sorrow that bent her shoulders, the palace rose taller inside her. For every tear that blurred her sight, the stairways show clearer. And when the last night came, when her breath grew shallow, and the city no longer held her name, she closed her eyes. The broken house was before her again, silent, leaning, lost in shadow. But this time, the door did not resist. It opened wide, and the ruin did not appear. The palace was waiting, whole, brighter than it had even been. And the fairies, the fairies came rushing, their wings spilling rivers of cold. They clasped her hands, they kissed her cheeks, they lifted her crown once more. "Welcome home, my queen," they cried. "No dusk will ever steal us again. The gates will never close. This kingdom is yours forever." She laughed, the laugh of a child, the laugh of freedom, the laugh of one who has found her way home. And with each step, the world of dust and sorrow fell away like a forgotten dream. The marble floor held her steady, the stairways lifted her higher, the air tasted like spring, and every flower she had ever loved was blooming endlessly. In that place, there was no ruin, no shadow, no end, only light, only music, only love. And so she lived, not in memory, not in longing, but in the palace that had always been hers forever. Keep watching The Desert Voice.